Hello everyone, and welcome back to Mandate Buddy Mondays. I'm your host Rob, the host that gives you the latest trucking news, raw, uncut, and real. Let's go ahead and get started and jump into the latest breaking news in the trucking industry. So in the news, FMCSA to begin testing new carrier safety scoring system this fall. So currently, safety scores are based upon your peers, right? And this new scoring system is going to use an absolute scoring system. So that means that everybody will be graded on the same level. And let me show you that here, are on the same playing field, right? Let me show you. Let's see. Find you exactly where. Okay, so making it easier for carriers to understand and calculate their safety scores and evaluating adding an absolute scoring system. So instead of relying on relative scores that hinge on a comparison of carriers to their peers, they're going to use an absolute scoring system. Right, so be on the lookout for that. Let's see. So in the news, driver sentenced to jail time for using phone at the time of fatal rear-end crash. So here's the image of that crash, and this is a good reason. This particular gentleman, Christopher Burns, looks like he had no prior charges. Was distracted on his phone and hit and killed somebody. So this is a good and sad reason why companies need to be looking into an in-cab camera or a forward-facing camera to help prevent things like this. So let me see. So he was headed to Buffalo, right? Let me see. No, this was actually the victim. So Gregorick, right? He was driving 70 miles per hour. He had a 2016 Freightliner and crashed into her 1999 Honda, killing the mother of two toddlers. So two toddlers now without a mother because of this gentleman. And one person was hospitalized for the injuries. So looks like this particular gentleman is headed to jail for this. So, you know, this is a good reminder, as I'm sure all of you already know, to not text and drive, right? In the news, 120 shuts down all operations. Owner-operator looking to get paid. So Christopher Schneck is the former head of 120, and no longer with 120, and obviously 120, as I'm sure most of you know, has ceased all operations and provided no support to their customers, right? So they left a bunch of people that went out and bought 120 ELDs. Currently now do not have a working ELD, and they have no support for it. Also, 120 had one company that was running underneath their authority, the Schmitz. So the Schmitz were the only truck to be operating under 120's authority. And looks like since 120 ceased operation, they still owe the Schmitz about $4,200 for loads hauled under 120. So you can see that here. So we'll keep you updated on this and let you know if the Schmitz get paid. And also, Mr. Schneck started another company, I believe, called Truck That. So if you're interested in that, go check it out. So it looks like, and also just a fun fact, 120 was funded by Trimble. So Trimble was an investor, and Trimble decided to remove or withhold or eliminate all investment into 120. So in the news, in the news, owner-operator Tim Paxton of Ohio named Expediter of the Year. So Mr. Paxton drove a cargo van and was a cargo van expediting owner-operator. And Mr. Paxton won Expediter of the Year. So, you know, if you're interested in winning this award or would like to win this award, go ahead and contact Overdrive. This is the blog that I'm reading about this, and it looks like Paxton and his wife manage the business closely together. Let me see. So it looks like it's a family business. So he transitioned to running in a cargo van after some years hauling, Class 8 tanker. Let's see. So in the news, former trucking company owner gets jail time for carrier fraud scheme. So this gentleman from Iowa, Brett J. Tratchell, and also feel free, submit any question. I'm open to answering any questions any of you may have, and just go ahead and submit that comment, and I'll see it here on my screen, and we can go ahead and discuss that. So make sure that make sure I got my live chat open so I can answer you guys' questions, and feel free to go ahead and submit a question, and I can answer it right here live. So in the news, former trucking company owner gets jail time for carrier fraud scheme. Tratchell provided false information to the FMCSA. So this gentleman out of Iowa was sentenced to 3 years of supervised release and ordered to pay $35,801 in restitution to Quaker Transportation, a victim of his scheme. So what this gentleman did, he circumvented the registration requirements and operated without proper FMCSA authority. He also contracted with shippers to haul freight for a certain price, and he ended up billing them for that same load multiple times. In this particular company, Quaker actually ended up paying those incorrect invoices. So this gentleman was sentenced for committing fraud, right? And here, what we're going to go ahead and do is jump into an ELD review, I think, at the end of the show. Will be a good way to end this. So the first item that I'm going to cover is state miles, and we're going to go ahead and cover 3 different items. IFTA, International Fuel Tax Agreement, the HOS violation report. So being able to see, if you have 50 drivers, 20 drivers, 10 drivers, you can run this HOS violation report, and you'll be able to see exactly which one of your drivers have committed violations, and easily file it away, give it to who you need to give it to, and address that violation with the correct driver. So, and also the Breadcrumb report. So position vehicle history, I'll show you how to run a Breadcrumb report. So here you can see this is state miles, and we're partnered together with a company, Omnitrax, and I work together with a company, Gentrifi GPS, and so we help Omnitrax, distribute their ELD, right? So right now I'm actually an Omnitrax application, and this is their IFTA screen. So here you can see it's breaking it out exactly, how many miles were driven and in which state those miles were driven in. So here you can see all the different states broken out, and for each month, letting you know exactly how many miles. So in Alabama, in January, 15,066.5 miles were driven for this particular fleet. In February, 9,232 miles were driven. March, 19,000. April, 18,000. May, 13,000. June, 11,000. And here you can see You know, it's very easy. Right here, you can press download, and you can download for the past 6 months, right? So you can look at all of the state miles for the past 6 months, and you can download that to an Excel format, download it to a PowerPoint format, download it to a CSV format, right? So let's go ahead and download to Excel. Let me open this up. Might take a minute here. Okay, let's go to my downloads here. Downloads. Okay, hold on, let's try this again. So here you can see I downloaded this information, and you could give this to a third party, to your accountant, whoever's filling out your IFTA information for you, and you can see it breaks out every single month and exactly how many miles were driven in that month. Okay, so that's state miles. You can also run this and see state miles. Let me zoom this in so you can see it. You can see state miles for a vehicle driven in the United States. See state miles for all vehicles driven in Canada or Mexico. Or you can see, you can click here to see state miles for a specific vehicle. So if you have to file your IFTA report for each specific vehicle, you can do that with the OmniTrack system. I'm going to go ahead and jump into the HOS violations report. So I'm going to click on Hours of Service, and I'm going to show you how you can run a violations report and see exactly which drivers have a violation. So let me go to Reports. So this is Hours of Service. As you can see, this is the OmniTrack's application. And go to Reports, HOS violations, right? So I can do drivers by group. Let's go ahead and pick all drivers. And let's say, let's see. So from the beginning of this month to today, what is today? The 23rd, okay? Okay, so it looks like we have some questions in the chat. Let me see. Okay, so someone's asking what the difference is between an ELD and an AOBRD, and also is the new mandate for fleets under 10 going to go through, exempting 10 or less from ELDs. So we'll go, and this is the HR 5948, and we'll go ahead and address that here in a minute. So let's run this report. Let's see, 2018. And run it for today. Let's see, the 23rd. So from the beginning of this month to today, and go ahead and press View Report. So you can see, and this is a demo account, so if you had a big fleet with a lot of drivers, you know, I'm sure you would have more violations than this, but this isn't a bad thing to just have one violation, right? So James Colgrove, looks like he had a rest break violation on the 13th. So this is an easy way to see all of your drivers in the fleet and which ones had violations. And we'll go ahead and get to Austin's question here in a minute. I know he has a question, but let's go ahead and look at Breadcrumb report here. So what we're going to do is go into QTrack. So this is the fleet mapping section of the OmniTrax application. And we're going to go ahead and run a breadcrumb report for a specific vehicle. So I selected vehicles here. In GLD demo 169, what we're going to do is we're going to run a vehicle position history or breadcrumb report for this particular vehicle. So we're going to select this particular vehicle. And this is looking at from the 16th to today. And as you can see, this is the breadcrumb report. So this is exactly where this vehicle has traveled between the 16th and today. And here you can see, here is a more detailed report with exact location and the speed at the time the vehicle was at that location. So this is the breadcrumb report. You can zoom in, zoom out, change the view. Let's go to a road view. An aerial view. Here's a street side view. Right, so let's go back to road view. Aerial view. Okay. All right, so that is the breadcrumb report, and I'm going to go ahead and address Austin's question. So Austin is asking, what's the difference between ELD and AOBRD? So let's see if we can pull up an article here, ELD versus AOBRD from the FMCSA, and see if we can back up some of this information. Let's see, FMCSA. What? Oh, let's see. See if it's on the general information. Let's see, AOBRD. Difference between AOBRDs and ELDs. Okay, so let's see. Okay, that's not what I wanted. Let's see. AOBRD and ELD. And let me see. I can't find a good article, but I can go ahead and just address it. So, from my understanding, with an AOBRD, an automatic onboard recording device, it differences between the ELD in a few different areas. So, according to the mandate, in order to run an AOBRD, it must have been installed prior to December 2017. So if you're looking to get an AOBRD and install it today, technically that is not allowed. You must have installed it before December 2017. And what an AOBRD, a couple things that an AOBRD allows you to do is you can drive a little bit longer before it starts deducting from your 11 hours of drive time. So unless you exceed either 15 miles or 15 miles per hour or drive a distance of 0.7 miles, it won't start deducting from your 11 hours of drive time. With an ELD, as soon as you exceed 5 miles per hour, it's going to start deducting from your 11 hours of drive time. So there's some advantages to running an AOBRD versus an ELD. And also, let's see. So Austin is asking about HR 5948. So let's see. 5948. Okay, so is it going to pass? Honestly, I don't think it's going to pass. I know that OIDA, or the Owner Operators Independent Driver Association, tried to get an exemption, through the House and through the Senate, before the mandate passed, and the Supreme Court shot it down. So my personal opinion is that it is not going to go through. But here I see there's an article done by Overdrive saying that there's a little hope for the bill, right? So let's see. So the legislation introduced in May this year would exempt operations with 10 or fewer power units from the mandate. So since being introduced, with a primary co-sponsor in Democratic Colin Peterson of Minnesota, so the co-sponsor is Colin Peterson of Minnesota. Let's see, the bill's been referred to the Highway Subcommittee, but seen no further action. So it looks like there are 33 co-sponsors, all Republicans. So, I mean, you're going to need bipartisan support, right, to get something like this pushed through. So you're going to need the Democrats' support, and you're also going to need the Republican support, right? Looks like all the co-sponsors that have joined on to this bill are Republicans. Let's see. So do I think it's going to pass? No. But if you do think it is going to pass, feel free. I would love, for you to input a comment here, and I can go ahead and respond and answer your question. But if we don't get any comments here within the next couple minutes, I'm going to go ahead and complete the show. So this is your last warning, or last call to submit a question, and I can go ahead and answer it. So let's see. Okay. So, looks like we haven't received any additional questions, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap the show up. Again, thank you for joining episode 4 of Mandate Buddy Mondays. I'm your host, Rob, the host that gives you the latest trucking news, raw, uncut, and real. Thank you.